Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of the Courageously Confident podcast and our first episode of the series, How to Go from Afraid AF to Confident AF. Today we're specifically talking about fear and how to step through fear and go into courage. And we're really diving into, taking action fast and staying committed and doing things, embracing fear. It's gonna be amazing. I have Eric joining me. I hope you guys love it. So since in this episode we're talking about embracing fear and stepping into courage, let's start off talking about fear in general. Humans have the natural ability just to be fearful, to be afraid. And not just, obviously we're afraid of things that are actually going to harm us, but doing things that are scary and uncomfortable, whether it's in fitness, in business, in relationships. It's natural to be afraid, right?
Yeah.
And so, for example, for me, starting a business, that was scary. To start going to the gym, that was scary. All these kinds of things are scary, and I was able to step through that fear and act and be courageous and do things. And so, for example, every single day training is a challenge, is fearful. Even training in your career in the military, it's natural to be afraid. So let's talk about just why it's so normal for us as humans to be afraid and be okay with embracing fear. So for you, Eric, what is something in your career maybe right now that is challenging for you, that's a little bit afraid, or maybe something you've done in the past, but you've been able to embrace that fear and step through and act courageous?
Well, there's probably lots of examples,
Yeah.
Lots of things. Definitely like my combat diving prelim selection. That was a big one. A lot of guys are fearful, not even fearful, but it's a challenge for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that there was jumping, there was just joining the military in general was.
So talk about specifics, because I know that the months going up to prelim. So for you guys listening, prelim is basically a week kind of selection to get to the next step where you want to be. And you knew going into that it was going to be really fucking challenging. You were going to have to do stuff that was beyond your limits. So how do you still show up on that day even though you're terrified and you don't know what's to come? How do you show up compared to some guys who are like, F that, I'm not going to do it? You show up and do it even though it's still scary the same for you and still scary the same for someone else.
Well, that's the thing is, if you don't know the outcome, you don't know if you're going to get picked up, you don't know how it's going to play out or how well you're going to do. But I mean, it's just I've heard before, sometimes you just have to, if you don't show up, then you're for sure not going to get where you want to go. So
right.
You just have to at least show up on day 1 or day 0 and do what you can.
Yeah.
Right? If it ends up not working, then it didn't work, but at least you showed up and you made an attempt. So I don't think being fearful of trying something is you shouldn't really be fearful of that, because if you don't try, you're never going to make it at all. So if you're worried in your head, well, what if I don't make it? Well, if you don't show up, then you're definitely not going to make it. So
exactly,
you completely remove the chance of that. So the first thing you have to do is show up, and that's half of it. Just showing up.
And I love that you bring that up, because I feel like so many people use fear as an excuse not to do something incredible. Oh, I'm kind of afraid of doing this because maybe I'll suck at it, or maybe I'll get a hurt, or maybe I'll fail, or whatever the excuse is. I feel like people just use, oh, I'm afraid. And that feeling of being afraid sucks. Yeah, because we're humans. It's not the best feeling in the world. But I feel like so many people use it as an excuse not to do something. And it drives me insane as someone who is very courageous and does stuff even though I'm scared as fuck. I'm, oh shit, what if this doesn't work out? But it's just like you say, if you don't do anything, I think it's worse to have that feeling of regret of not trying and not knowing. Imagine if you didn't do your prelim, your course to become a diver, you would never be where you're at. You would never be where you're at today.
No, and very fortunate to have gone this way in my career, and it came with a lot of hard work, but a lot of it was I took advantage of showing up.
Yeah.
And I had to show up more than once because the first time I attempted to, I was recovering from a bad injury that year of having broken ankles. So I still showed up only, what, 8 months after my injury, not even 6 months after my injury. And yeah, by the first day, my ankles were shot and I couldn't run anymore. So I had to drop out. But at least, like, I still felt okay because at least I did show up. I didn't just be like, oh, I'm fresh off an injury. I'm maybe not the best. No, I still want to show up and at least try.
Yeah.
And then I got a good feeling for it. And then I knew the next year, I was like, hey, well, now I have a year to be better prepared for it and get to try again. And honestly, if I didn't make it that second time, I'd probably be trying again or trying something else at least.
That's a mindset you have to have. And I think, too, so many people who experience fear and are afraid, they're like, well, what if? It's like, what if it doesn't work out? But what if you look at it like, what if it does work out? What if you do accomplish this? That's what I think people need to focus on when they're afraid, to actually get the courage to step in and do something, and to relate this to a lot of people, listening. A lot of the women that I work with are afraid to step inside the gym, even though they want to get fit and they want to get strong, but they're afraid to take that first step. And like you were saying, that first day of showing up is probably the hardest thing. The first day going to the gym is the scariest thing. The first time ever, launching your business or whatever, it's scary AF, but you have to overcome that first step and the rest just kind of flows.
Yeah, and there's sort of something too, like, the first showing up is hard, but one something I've always heard, and like we say, and I'll tell guys, if other guys that want to do a dive prelim, is the first day's hard, and it takes a lot of guts just to show up, but the second day's worse, and the third day's worse. Every day is worse because depending on where you do it and who is running it, sometimes they're done through overnight, like you're forced and confined overnight. We like letting guys go home at night because that way they get to go home, sleep in their warm bed, get comfortable again, have a good breakfast, but then they have to pry themselves out of bed in the morning at 6 or 5 or whatever in the morning to come back to that uncomfortable area. And I think mentally that's a lot worse than if you're just put in it, and once you're in it, it gets better because you get used to it and you get comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. But when you get to go home and get comfortable again, being relaxed, not being yelled at, not being tired, or not being beasted around all day long, but then having to actually make that mental decision when you wake up at whatever 5 in the morning to say, I'm going back to do this, and I know exactly how horrible it's going to be and how much it's going to hurt and how painful it's going to be and how uncomfortable it's going to be, and I don't know if they're going to throw at me today and how, but you just got to make that decision to keep showing up and keep trying and not quitting. And then there's a lot on that too, is how do you keep going throughout the day?
And we'll talk about that, but isn't it like empowering and powerful to do something that you're afraid to do and then you do it? Like, doesn't that give you like, holy shit, yeah, I was terrified, but I got through day 1, or I got through gym session 1, or I got through it. That gives you, like, that's powerful to me. You know what I mean? When you're scared to do something, you do it, you show up on day 1. Yeah, that was fucking hard, but I'm going to keep going back. To me, that shows strength. Yeah. And then once you step into that courage, which we're talking about, is it shows you that you're stronger than you think you are, that you can do this. And I think it's all about, if you had one piece of advice to share with someone who's afraid to do something, but they know they want to do it, whether it's, bettering their health, going to the gym, whatever it is, they're so stuck in that fear, what would you say? Like, just do it, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, like the 5-second rule, like, just go.
Yeah. At one point, you just have to. It's what it comes down to. There's no tricks about it. There's no secret to physical fitness or getting, you know, jacked or
Yeah.
getting fit or healthy. It's like it's a simple equation. It's time in and effort gives you results. Like
Results.
there's no way around that. Like, I mean, sure, you can look at there are like shortcuts, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
that are like using substances and stuff. But even that takes work.
Yeah.
And it does. It's probably, if you're not dedicated enough to just do a basic diet, like or meal plan or whatever, nutrition, and train every day, you're definitely not dedicated to do the other illegal substances better as the way they're supposed to be
To
done.
make
So it's not
easier.
even it's not really even a easier
Yeah.
way of doing it. So either way, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and the results are going to be for a long time very minimal. There's very little gain, especially in appearance wise.
And I want to talk about, because it's natural for us to feel afraid, and then it's also natural of us to feel afraid, and then all of a sudden our brain starts to go crazy, like, okay, I'm afraid, but now, you know, all the excuses come in. Like, I'm afraid, what if this happens? What if this happens? Oh my gosh, your mind starts to talk you out of doing something. And that's why what we were saying is acting right away. Like, acting when you know you want to do something really incredible, no matter what it is jump in and do it, because if you wait too long, you'll talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
You know, and like certain things, yeah, you have to wait for a certain date to start or whatever. But if you sit for a year and say, I'm gonna start the gym tomorrow. I'm gonna start the gym tomorrow. I'm gonna start the gym tomorrow. It's
New
never
Year's
it's
or-
never gonna happen. A year is gonna fly by. 2 years is gonna fly by, because you just keep talking yourself out of it. So I think the best advice that I could give is to, if you're scared and excited at the same time, just do it. Do it as fast as you can, because you'll show yourself that you can do it. Yeah. And you just jump in and you go. And I think that's the most powerful thing. And we just talk ourselves out as humans of so much stuff, when really, if we just stopped, you know, doubting ourselves and jump into something, we're gonna make magic happen for our lives, for our fitness, for our health, for relationships, everything. You just need to jump right in. And so I know I have some few questions from some women who are in my Courageously Confident program, and one that really suits this topic of fear and courage, and we were just talking about excuses, is Ashley K asks, how do you get past the excuses you make for not doing something? Example, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, etc. What can you do to get past your own bullshit? Because Eric, let's be real, okay? Eric will have days where he's like, I don't fucking want to work out. And Eric's training right now and has a plan, but he goes and he does it. Whether it's, you know, 8 at night, 9 at night, he'll be in the garage, in the gym. Yeah, you're tired. Yeah, it's not the first thing that you want to do, but you still go and do it. So let's talk about how to get past your own excuses, your own bullshit.
Yes. Well, one first step is, at least he admits it, like it is an excuse.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that. And you got to realize that these excuses are, it's not real. Like you're just making shit up. Yeah, there is that chance that maybe it is legit. Fine, if you've worked literally, if you're like myself in the military and you got up at 4 a.m. and you didn't get home until midnight, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have time to go to the bloody gym and train. That is on that rare occasion, and I guarantee you, even for myself, I'll call myself out on it. That's only a fraction of the actual times that I do miss a session. Sometimes it is just that bit of weakness saying, you know what, like, I'm over it. Like, and is okay too. You need to make those tactical decisions of, okay, it's actually better for me to de-stress right now because I've had a long day. I'm not feeling it. It's just not going to go right. So let's just de-stress, sit down, take the time, and then recock and get ready to go and hit it next session hard. And
So before you keep going, because it's perfect timing, is I like to talk about knowing the balance between like what is too much right now. Like I'm not, you know, like you're saying, I started at 4 a.m., I got home at 12. It's too much for me to train. I'm too tired. I wouldn't benefit. And the balance between I'm a little tired, but I have time, but I can do it. I feel like a lot of people are like, get home at 6. Yeah, I'm pretty tired. I'm going to sit on the couch and then just not do it. That's an excuse. That's lying to yourself. Like you said, excuses are lies. Guys, really, if you're taking notes right now, write this down. Excuses, most of the time, are lies that you tell yourself to make yourself feel better for not doing what you should do.
Exactly. And so that's the first step, is making that decision of a really honest, almost like a unbiased secondary opinion of it. Is like, look at yourself from a different perspective and say, hey, am I full of shit right now and just being lazy, or am I legitimately gonna benefit better, like
By
physically,
going.
by just or just by taking the day off?
Oh, right.
Like,
Yeah.
is it more benefit to go, or is it to not go? And once you clarify that unbiasedly, you're gonna ask a fucking friend.
Yeah.
Then okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right. But if you call yourself on it and you realize, okay, it's 6 o'clock. Yeah, I had a kind of long day. I didn't sleep that well last night. Not really feeling it. But I have time to go. I could go.
Mm-hmm.
I should. And in your head, you should go, but you keep making up reasons why you shouldn't go. Because if I'm not gonna train, it's immediate. I know I'm not gonna be able to
You're
train.
done.
There's no questioning
Yeah.
myself about it. But there are days where I'm like, oh, I don't want to. But once you start going through that circle of you convincing yourself why you shouldn't, you got to realize that no, I should.
Yeah.
And then so on that, my own, like some strategies that I use is, if I had a long day and it was just a really crappy day and long day and I'm tired and I have a really gutty long workout, like on the track or something, where I'm gonna be doing a monotonous ruck march or run for hours. You know what? Like, I almost make it a personal challenge of like, well, who the fuck else would train right now?
Right.
I'm going to, and that's gonna make me better in the long run.
Right.
So you can take that sort of side of things, of like almost a challenge at that point. Like, I'm so beat, but yeah, I'm gonna train. But maybe you're not that beat, and you can't really justify that kind of challenge. You're just a little tired. Well, at that case, you just really need to just shut the fuck up in your head and go train. And there's just no easy way around it.
And so, for example, for me, some nights, if I don't sleep well and I wake up, because I usually go to the gym in the morning, I'm like, I'm tired. And then it's like this mental kind of like, should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? But it's really just checking in with yourself. And 9 times out of 10, I go and I feel so much better after. Whereas, like I wasn't that tired. Imagine if I didn't go and I missed this really good workout. You know, it's becoming really self-aware and saying, like you said, checking in with yourself or asking someone. Like sometimes I'm gonna be like, Eric, like I don't know, should I go to the gym? And you're like, why wouldn't you go? Like fucking go. You know, like it's like we're looking for that either validation to go or not to go. So be wise in who you ask, and someone who you know is very strong-willed that would be like, yeah, go do it. That's a person you need to ask, or just get really fucking honest with yourself and be like, am I making up excuses, or, you know, should I just go? And that's what it comes down to, is being real with yourself. And that is how you become courageous. That is how you step through fear and do things and act.
And that's probably the hardest hump to get through, especially for beginners. And like, by beginners, I'm not talking like the first week. I'm talking the first year.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the first 5 weeks, a month, it's still pretty new and exciting, and that's not where you're going to have troubles going. It's guys that they go for a month or two and then they stop, and they go for a month or two and they stop, because after that time they've done all the program, or at least some of the programming. They don't know what they're doing maybe, and they start repeating things, getting bored with it. But that like consistency, that boring consistency of doing a bench day every Monday, this is your sets and reps, and your only thing changing is your percentages or your volume. Well, that's where the progress is made, is with that consistency, and it's that consistency and that takes a long time to develop.
Yeah.
And it comes down to discipline of going every day.
Yeah.
And that's the challenging part, is getting to that point. So like after a few months of training, great, but it's still new to you. After a few years, then you'll kind of understand it'll be more challenging
Yeah.
to keep going every day, and you'll have these years where I'm talking like years here, where you'll be like, why am I doing this? It's been a year. I've been training for a year now. I've seen minimal results. Am I wasting my time? What's the point of this? And again, that's you trying to revalidate yourself of why you should stop or quit
Right.
or give up. But then after, say, 3 or 4 years is when you'll start getting, I won't say easier, but it'll become such a habit and a part of your day-to-day life that you no longer question it.
Yeah.
It's just something you do now, and that gives you the results. So when you ask me, like, how do you go to the gym every day? It's like, well,
How could I not?
it would be,
It gets
if
to
I
that
didn't,
point.
it'd be weird. Like, do you brush your teeth every morning?
Yeah.
It's
Make
kind
it
of the
come to
same
that
thing.
point. So really what we want to like pound in on this episode and this talk is, you know, the first thing you need to do is be super real with yourself, be so fucking honest with yourself. And then my best advice, if you're struggling with fear and talking yourself out and excuses and all these things, is to jump in. And, you know, go do it. The moment you think of going to the gym, like sign up for the gym, go, like make the action to start. And, you know, if you're listening, whether you're relating this to fitness or entrepreneurship or business or whatever it is that you want to do in your life, jump in. When I have an idea, I jump in. I'm like, let's make it happen. And I want it to happen now. And that's maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing sometimes. But if you want to be successful, if you want to be consistent, if you want to make things happen, it starts with jumping in and just doing it even though you're afraid, getting over it, jumping into courage, and understanding that that feeling of fear may never go away. Things are always going to be scary. Embrace it. Let it challenge you. Let it push you. Let it, you know, make you become stronger. So this episode was all about, you know, embracing fear. What do you do when you're afraid? How do you act when you're afraid, when you're so scared to do something even though you want to? And it's all about jumping in, embracing the fear and pushing yourself. It's mindset. And once you just get up and go, it helps. So when you guys are listening to this, and I want you guys to listen to this like on the way to the gym or on the way to work or on the way to do something that you're kind of afraid to do, listen to this over and over to push you to go and do it every time. If you're starting, like if it's every month, you need a push to get to the gym every day, every month. You know what I mean? We're all afraid. Even the people that are the most successful, like the fittest people in the world, we all have that sense of fear. So just jump and fucking do it. Anything to say about fear and courage? And I know Eric embraces fear pretty much every day of his life, doing things that are challenging within work, within fitness. So his mindset is incredible. I love it. I love it. So guys, don't be afraid of fear. Don't be afraid of fear. Act on it.